back. Well, it sure feels like the Clinton foundations. You know what those were, eh? Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, they would launder hundreds of millions of dollars through a charity that somehow wound up in their own pockets. Less than 10% of all the money to the Clinton Global Initiative actually went to charitable projects. The rest was hoovered up by them, their friends and family. Looks like we have that in Canada, except for it's called We, or Me to We. It's the Kielburger brothers, Craig and Mark Kielburger, who know how to manipulate politicians. I got one word for you: money. That's how. Paying massive speaking fees for politicians to come speak. That's not a speaking fee. Politicians speak for free. It's part of their job. Parliament means to speak. They love speaking to thousands of kids for free. When you're paying someone $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, it ain't a speaking fee. It's money laundering for a bribe, not just in the fees, but the fancy travel. And we have learned that We has paid over $300,000 to the close personal family of Justin Trudeau, and they only started after he became Prime Minister. Well, today, the Kielburgers were in front of the House of Commons, and they answered a few fairly well-put questions. We learned so much already. And joining me to go through a couple of clips is our friend Keean Bexte, who has been heading up our We coverage. Great to see you again, Keean.
Hey, Ezra.
You know, I want to remind folks that last week you rolled out something called Audit We, AUDIT, auditwe.com.
Yeah.
Why don't you refresh the memory of our viewers what auditwe.com was about before we get into today's news?
Yeah, so there's a series of infractions that the We organization, the Kielburger conglomerate, these infractions range from money that goes to a real estate venture of theirs to them sort of speaking with politicians in ways that they really should be registered lobbyists. There's about 4 main points to our document, a dossier that our lawyers have actually drafted, and we sent that document to the CRA so that they can look at it. It has all of their infractions and all of the footnotes and laws all connected to it. So the auditors don't have to really lift a finger, but someone just did all their work for the months worth of work that the auditors would have had to have done. Our lawyers did it for them. We want to make it as easy as possible so that We is actually audited, so that those auditors, open up the books, crack them open, and see exactly what laws they broke, what charitable laws they broke, doing political activity, so that they can be decertified. Really, that's the goal.
Yeah.
Because no other charity would be given the amount of slack or power that the Kielburgers have gotten.
Yeah, I think there's actually 4 different varieties of a legal complaint we have. Support for a political party, obviously, but also doing non-charitable things, acquiring massive amounts of real estate, self-dealing. It's all laid out there. I encourage people to go to auditwe.com. We also have a petition there, and last I checked, we had about 4,500 signatures demanding that the CRA audit. Okay. I think we're going to have to update that letter with some of the news out of Parliament Hill today. We have a couple of clips. Let's watch a couple of them, and then I'd like your feedback on them afterwards. Here, let's take a look at the first one now.
Now, when your organization booked the Kenya and Ecuador trips, were they booked specifically as an accounts receivable?
We charity, similar to many other humanitarian organizations, invites prospective donors, people who vet on behalf of companies and foundations to witness the development projects of what they do.
So the answer to that is no?
Correct.
It was not an accounts receivable.
It
was a complimentary trip, right? That's what your statement said. Is that correct?
Sir, if I can just finish the statement. So it is to host individuals who have an interest to witness our development work on the ground. And to answer your question, it was seen in our mind as a complimentary hosting, given they were already in the country in Kenya and were coming in to simply stay with us in Ecuador to look at this from a development lens.
Thank you. So no accounts receivable. So did you hide to Mr. Morneau the fact that the trip would be complimentary?
The arrangements for the trip were entirely done through an invitation to Ms. McCain. and entirely arranged with her and her team. So I don't know whether there was any clarity or conversations that followed. In our mind, it was an invitation to a very prominent Canadian family, Mr. McCain, who's very philanthropic and very beneficial.
So just to explain to our viewers, the reason why they're in different offices is because during the pandemic, Parliament refuses to sit as normal. So you have both the question askers, in this case, a Conservative MP named Michael Cooper, and the question answerers, the Kielburgers, basically appearing via Zoom or Skype. Keean, what we learned there is that it was absolutely a gift. It was not a gift they expected to be repaid. It was not an accounts receivable. It was a complimentary luxury trip. I think he fibbed a bit when he said, oh, they were in Ecuador in Kenya anyways. Yeah, it didn't happen that way. But they got free luxury trips for Bill Morneau, the finance minister, who, surprise, was approving government cash to them. They pretty much admitted it there, didn't they?
Yeah, so they were under oath there, Ezra. So they were obligated to answer truthfully, something that they wouldn't have done otherwise. And just for background on this was the trip where Bill Morneau owed over $40,000 to the We charity, because if he didn't technically owe that money to them, he would have been in contravention of a bunch of ethics rules that ministers are obligated to follow. You're not allowed to accept gifts over a certain amount, blah, 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 not allowed to accept travel. You know the drill. So he said just before, the day before he testified, Bill Morneau paid back a bunch of expenses that he just happened to find. So we were being led to believe that this was something that he owed, and it was his own personal financial mistake that he didn't pay it back. Now that the Kielburger brothers are testifying, well, who's lying here? The Kielburger brothers say that it was complimentary. They never expected that money back in the first place, which means they gave him that benefit, that package, that travel, that luxury as he was Minister of Finance. They just gave it to him, which is in contravention of those laws. So this is a huge deal.
Yeah. Another little fib there. You heard him kept saying McCain. Yep. That's Bill Morneau's wife's name. Craig Kielburger, a slippery little fish there. He wouldn't say the name Morneau because obviously he's trying to save his political pal Bill Morneau. But, you know, he said McCain. Well, Mr. McCain, otherwise known as Bill Morneau, was the one who got the free trip. He's the finance minister. So you can see that the Kielburger brothers are very oily, very weaselly. Even when they are telling the truth, they do so in the slickest way possible. Wouldn't answer the question head on, called him Mr. McCain instead of Mr. Morneau. But I think you're right. They actually did answer the essence of it truthfully, which is they gave a free gift. Now, I don't think it's illegal to give a free gift. I think it's illegal for the politician to take the free gift. And there's a very special rule when it comes to travel. Foreign countries love to give free travel to MPs all the time. But everyone knows that's a kind of a bribe, so it has to be disclosed. Taiwan, China, Israel, these are all countries that lobby Canadian MPs, so they have to disclose the gift and the amount of its value. Bill Morneau, crooked Bill Morneau, Mr. McCain, did not do so. That's an excerpt from my daily show, the Ezra Levant Show. Every day I do a monologue on the news of the day, then I interview an interesting guest, and then I read my hate mail. You gotta subscribe. Go to rebelnews.com.